Yeah, right. My name's Ben, and I've got schizophrenia. And today, I want to talk about one of my delusions, the main delusion, the game theory. So, as I've told you before, I basically believed, but there's still, I'll be honest with you, there's still a percent that I still believe. That a very small percent, I don't think about it much, but sometimes it crops up that my life is on a game show and I'm in a simulation and X, Y and Z can happen because I don't have as much rights or whatever. And yeah, and one of the things that cropped up recently is that British Gas, which is like a utility company in the UK, got in touch with me and said, you owe us thousands of pounds for energy that I never used. I sold a property that I'd done up in 2021, and in 2026 I get a letter, 5 years later. So I was like, what's going on here? This is not alright. So I looked at it, and I seen that the people I sold the house to reinstated all the energy bills in my name. So one of the big things for me when COVID was happening, which I believe COVID was happening because of me, COVID-19. Anyway, when that happened, I believed at the time when I was in psychosis that I took too much energy from the planet and I was getting tortured. And then I find out that many years later that they've just been using the bills in one of the house, like a 4 or 5 bedroomed detached house. They've been using bills for 5 years in my name. And I was thinking, wait, game theory, I'm talking as if I'm in the game theory now. This isn't real life, but I was thinking, so they've been using energy bills at that house saying it's me. So did I get tortured because I used too much energy? Or did I get tortured because the game was rigged in a way that they used more energy that I never used, so then they can hold that over my head? And I was like, obviously, my rational brain, I think of it, it's bullshit. There's no game, there's no simulation. But then the little part of me thinks, well, why did British Gas take 5 years to send me a letter when they've known my location? I've been on the electoral roll the full time back in Scotland, because they sent me a letter in Scotland and I was up in there for 4 years. And normally, if you don't pay your bills, you get letters, court letters, after like a month or two, like 3 months max, you're getting court letters. But this time it's taken 5 years. There's a part of me that thinks the game is rigged, and I'm just like, well, if it is, it is. What can I do? But there's my rational brain tells me, well, there's probably, most likely, it is not a simulation. And if it is a simulation, well, the game is rigged. But yeah, like I bought a Tesla, second hand from Tesla. And I was thinking, like, how deep would it have went? Like, the thing with schizophrenia, you go into these, you think about these things. And I was like, well, did they class that car as eco points? As like buying a brand new car even though it was second hand? And then the car battery broke down and it was under warranty. But I was like, did they charge me that for eco points? Because realistically, if I did use too much energy, like, because I'm trying to debunk my delusion here, if I used too much energy, I was living out my car, and I drove a bit in Europe, that's right, but it was an electric car, so it uses hardly any emissions. So, and I'm not, like, I've lived in a little flat, like a flat that, like the size of this room for many years. I've lived out of a car for 3 years of my life. Like, I've never really lived the high life. I've been on a few holidays, but not out of the norm. So, game theory again. Have they just rigged the eco points in a way that made me look like I spent more than I did by For example, using this house that I sold 5-6 years ago as justification as me using energy. Like, that is so unfair. But that's how delusions work. You have to think through the full process. And then you have to think, well, that wouldn't be a fair game if that was the case. So then that debunks that I'm in a simulation, if you know what I mean. Because people wouldn't stand up for that kind of stuff. You can't say someone committed a crime against humanity if they never actually used them energy, if it was someone else. It's just a bit weird that it took 5 years for British Gas to get in touch with us, even though they knew what I was at. And normally it takes 3 months for them kind of letters. And it's been months now since I've been trying to get it taken off my name. And they're like, oh yeah, Mr. Carr, we can see you never used that energy. But the systems are taking the longer. And I was like, so I went to the ombudsman. I went to the police because it is fraud. They've used my name illegally. And the police said, oh, there's no issue. I was like, what? I was like, so you can just put someone random's name and details, all the letter comes there and just puts a racket up in their name. Doesn't seem fair. But anyway, that is one of my delusions. And that's one of the game theories. And with schizophrenia, you have these, and you have to you have to think them out, and you think worst case scenario, but then you have, what I've learned is you have to try and disprove them. And in my mind, if I was in a simulation, I think people wouldn't be happy that someone would be committed of a crime even though they never used that energy. And I don't think that would fly with people. So that's just a debunk, and I learned that in one of my CBT sessions. Little add-on to the video, I was like, how much energy does an average UK house produce? And it was between 8 and 10 tons per year. And I was like, mine was like bigger than the average house. So you're talking at least 10, so that's 50 tons of energy they've used in my name. At least. I was like, oh my God, that seems ridiculous. Ridiculous. But seriously, like, on the delusion point, like, if there was a game, this is another way that I can kind of debunk it. If there was another game, if I was in a simulation, there would have to be someone monitoring the people that run the game. Like, they would have to. It's either the Martian government, because I believed it was all based in Mars, or it would be the British government or something. So you would have someone that would regulate it. And they wouldn't let, like, someone get tortured, that I believed was happening, even though it was psychosis. But they wouldn't let that happen for 5 years, racking up 10 ton of energy that the person obviously wasn't using, and it was, it just wouldn't happen because that's so unfair. And yeah, do you know, like 50 ton of CO2 is the same as 67 return flights from London to New York. Imagine that. Bloody hell. So, in the eyes of things, like my eco points in the game theory, looks like I probably used loads. But it was the fact that what have I personally used, not what has been used in my name illegally. And I don't think people would accept, if there was a TV show, people wouldn't accept that people would be tortured for energy they haven't used and committed of a crime that they shouldn't have been, in that sense. And yeah, I think that's just, it's quite comforting when you have them thoughts to kind of like think, nah, that wouldn't really fly, because either the Martian government or the British government wouldn't let that happen, unless they're corrupt. But I don't know. No, I don't think so. But do you know what I mean? Like that just wouldn't happen. And yeah, it's quite comforting when you debunk it.